What's up guys, TechLab here. Now in today's video we're going to be taking a look at another mini PC. This one is from a company called TrigKey and it is nearly perfect. It's actually this close. So the mini PC that we're taking a look at today is the TrigKey R8. That means that it is a Ryzen based mini PC, and to be honest they've done a pretty decent job of it. This thing's impressed me so far when it comes to the actual unit. It is extremely small, so it ticks the first box on any kind of mini PC test. So small in fact it's as big as my hand, but even if we compare it to another one, this Chewy U box here that we took a look at recently as well, you can see that they've managed to kind of contain everything down into such a small box, and not just the kind of distance around the top of it, they've actually managed to keep it quite small as well when it comes to the depth. These units are actually very similar specs, so they've done a pretty good job of keeping that down, but this one is configured a lot better. When it comes to things like I/O, they haven't skimped. You've got everything that you actually need on this unit. On the front, we've got a clear CMOS button, something you don't generally tend to see on many mini PCs, so that's always useful. We also have a USB 3 connection. We have a USB-C connection. We have a dual headphone and microphone jack, so again that keeps the I/O down and is very useful to a lot of people, as well as a power switch which also acts as a reset. On the back we have a big ventilation space here. That is the exhaust for the CPU and GPU, and it actually draws air in through each side, so there's great big vents on this one, something again that many mini PCs don't tend to have. This one has a big fan at the bottom to draw air in, but it only has a tiny little exhaust at the back, so temperatures are okay, but they could be a little bit better, and this unit actually fixes that kind of stuff because we have two great big ventilations on the side and this great big vent at the rear to be able to exhaust everything. When it comes to that kind of cooling solution too, they've done other work inside of it because there is a single fan unit controlling the CPU and GPU temperatures. And then on the rear, they've actually installed one in the bottom, which actually keeps your NVMe drives, your RAM, that's all tucked underneath a very nice little heatsink. Really, really cool, and it kind of vents out the same spots. If we take a look at the back, we've got lots of other I/O here, including a LAN connection, a dual USB 3 connection, which is really useful because so many PCs only come with a single USB-A connection on the back, which means trying to plug your mouse and keyboard in is a little bit annoying. We've got dual display output on the back, comprising of a HDMI connection as well as a DP, but then you can also get a third display output if you use the USB-C connection next to it, or you can just use that as a normal USB-C. So you can actually go up to 3 monitors with this mini PC, which again is pretty cool. We've got another headphone jack in the back in case you want everything plugged into the back as well. That again is another feature that some mini PCs don't include. They generally include one in the front, which is a dual connection, but not one in the back. And for those of you that like to hide away all of your cables, of course, that is very important. And then we have a pretty decent power connection as well. The power connection means that there is no kind of power supply inside this unit. It's actually built into the brick itself, and that gives them the ability to keep the unit small, but it also means that they haven't compromised on the hardware inside of this. The hardware in here is actually pretty impressive, and it includes the AMD Ryzen 7 8745HS, which is an 8-core 16-thread processor from AMD and is very fast at pretty much most tasks. They've also included 32GB of 5600 MTS DDR5. That is running in dual channels, so you have 2 sticks of 16GB there. That is a must-have if you are planning to game on this little unit. And they've also included a 1TB Gen 4 NVMe drive. Now already those specifications are pretty impressive, but it doesn't mean that you're just stuck with that because these things are all fully upgradable. The only thing you can't actually change out is of course the CPU, but you can upgrade the RAM. It comes with 2 slots and you can go all the way up to 128GB if you want. They've also provided 2 NVMe slots, so if you want to upgrade that 1TB drive you can, or you can add to it. You can add a 4TB drive as an extra storage drive, and it still keeps things really fast because it is an NVMe slot. So I think overall they've done a pretty decent job of what's inside of here. They've even configured it very nicely because it really does mean that you can boost things up in the BIOS if you want to, but of course we want to see how well we can actually game on it. Now to do our testing I have modified one thing on this unit, and I did that through the BIOS, and I believe everybody that has a mini PC should do this. They never seem to do it from the factory, which is a little bit crazy, but you really need to increase the VRAM on the iGPU or the APU inside this unit. They tend to have them pre-configured to around 2 to 3 GB of RAM. Normally it's set to an auto and it kind of takes up an allocation of your RAM, but I actually switched this unit over to 16 GB. That means that the APU had access, or it had a reservation of 16 GB that it can use, and the rest of the system used 16 GB. And I found with this unit in particular, because of the dual channel RAM, that actually run fantastic and was probably the best kind of configuration that you can go for. So if you are going to be playing games on a mini PC, that's definitely something you should do, because at least it stops you from not being able to start games that throw an error because of lack of VRAM, but it also really helps out the gaming performance. And when it comes to gaming performance, this thing is pretty impressive, so check this out.
Let's go.
So as you can see from the benchmarks, you can pretty much play any game that you want on this Trig Key R8. It actually performed exceptionally well across all of the games. I actually didn't want to change the test suite that we sent against this mini PC because I felt that it was configured correctly, it's got lots of power, and it didn't disappoint. I managed to play most of the games that we include on our normal general test suite, and I could get them playable nearly to a 60 FPS experience, but some of them did require a little bit of help from things like FSR, frame generation. Frame generation was a little bit flaky on this unit. It depended completely on the game. Some games it worked perfectly fine and it actually boosted the performance very well and you could get it into a playable state. Other games it pretty much just crippled the game, but I'm kind of going for the fact that that is probably the implementation of it in a game because other games work perfectly fine on it. So that's a little bit weird, but it did really help us get some decent performance and a decent experience out of games. So I'm not going to kind of quit it at the moment. So this mini PC is small, it's super fast, and you can game on it. So why isn't it perfect? Well, it's not perfect because of one thing, and that is when it comes down to the price. This mini PC at the moment on Amazon is around £420, which I think is a little bit steep, really. It needs to come down a little bit because you can get very similar models for a lot cheaper. In fact, This Chewy box here was around £210 at one point. Now, okay, the configurations of these are quite differently. This one here only came with a single stick of RAM, 16 gigabytes, which really did affect the gaming performance. You really need to run it in dual channel if you want to, but you can buy sticks of memory and you can upgrade it for a lot cheaper than actually forking out for this whole unit. You can also upgrade the NVMe slots in this one. You can change the drives out for something bigger. I believe this one only came with a 500 gigabytes, so that is something that you can upgrade. So it all comes down to you if you want to kind of purchase one that's already done and spend the extra, because this one comes with that near perfect configuration. Whereas on something like this, you would need to upgrade it a little bit. So I'm not quite sure. I think it's a little bit steep myself, but I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Is this actually worth around £420, or should it be a little bit cheaper? I think if it was anywhere near the $320, it would actually be a pretty decent price. So again, let me know in the comments what you think about it. But apart from that, this is the TrigKey R8 mini PC. I want to send a big thank you to them for sending it across, because this one was actually a lot of fun to test, and I think this is probably, out of all the mini PCs that we get, probably one of my favorites now. I'm going to keep this one around and we'll probably use it for some no GPU benchmark tests or something like that when new games come out. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content. I'm sure we're going to be taking a look at a lot of other mini PCs going forward. And I'm sure, as always, catch you guys in the next one.